And I think after that conversation is when you get control to go around the lodge
You
again.
talked to well, first you talked to Walter. You talked to a bunch of
Walter,
things.
right?
You talked to
Yeah,
Walter, who's making his
Oh,
I don't
special
know what that
beans.
was. Was it
Beans.
beans?
They're
It was
beans
beans.
and
beans. Okay.
peaches.
He
Go
cooks
for
a
it.
damn good pot of beans or whatever.
Legume. It was like a legume stew with a peach roe or something like that. Is how
Yeah.
he described it. The Walter special.
I forget if
God,
I
Walter's special.
again they bring up the again they bring up the peach thing.
Yeah, they bring up the peach thing, and I think it was implied that that's supposed to make you think that maybe the person
Oh,
that
the
he's
link.
with that connects with the guy on the bridge.
I didn't know.
But
Yeah.
I didn't because I was like, well, I mean, I don't think that necessarily means they're connected. I just think it means that both that they're the same supplier doesn't necessarily mean
You
that they know each other.
you have the same brand of peanut butter as me.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I don't think- I don't know.
suspicious.
That's suspicious, man. You following me? No.
Well, I mean, when you guys were talking with Walter, what were your first impressions of the guy?
Oh, I knew he was a 100% friendly guy.
Really?
I felt
Okay.
like this. I thought he was what you could really like this guy. He's got no hatred towards him, and I'll get to the next bit later. And I just felt like there's no way this could harm anyone.
I actually I'll go. I won't go second.
All
so
right.
Let's go.
I asked him about what was in the food,
Hmm
and if it was after that answer that was kind of jokingly that I actually trusted him because he
Okay.
seemed like a nice guy after that.
Yeah, I don't know what I said. I think I made a joke about the food or something.
Mhm.
I think that was an option. So I didn't actually try it. Oh wait, no. I said that it looks good. I was like, "Oh, that looks good." And then he's like, "Don't flatter me."
Oh.
So
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
yeah.
I
I didn't try it though.
I actually was I kind of already was like, yeah, he seems like a nice guy, but the one thing that I think I was focusing on the most out of that whole conversation was who was Matthew.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
I was still like, wait, because up until I saw the portrait, I was thinking, could Matthew be Carver? Again,
Right.
with your guys is in the podcast, what if Kenny's involved or part of? I was like, who's Matthew? I want to know more about Matthew. Who is this guy we haven't seen yet?
Yeah, I was actually pretty suspicious of Walter right off the bat. I didn't really trust him during that conversation. I don't know, something about him made me a little uncomfortable, and I think part of it was when he mentioned Matthew, and I actually thought that there's a reason why they haven't introduced Matthew right away like they did with all the other people, and I was thinking maybe there's something about Matthew that is a little dark in their height. Like I was like, is Matthew a walker? Like, is this a Matthew, this guy that they keep in the closet? But then I was thinking that I don't think Kenny would have allowed that. So I kind of dismissed that idea. But I thought there was something about Logan said. I thought maybe this Matthew guy actually is Carver. Like maybe Carver's his last name and Matthew happens to be his first name.
Yeah.
So
The other, last thing for me is I also remember on my way walking over to where he was with the chili, I made sort of an offbeat joke. But again, knowing that Kenny would totally probably not go with it, I was like, this better not be the dairy again because I swear I'm out the door.
after you talk to Walter, you walk around and you end up running into Sarita and Sarah first. And
Yes.
Sarita starts singing. So the first thing that I thought was, oh, wow, she has a really great voice. And then she starts talking about Good King Wenceslas, which I kind of liked that was part of the way for us to get to know Sarita as a character. Because she does come off as a very sweet person and someone that I ended up trusting right away. Just the way that she was talking to Sarah and the things that she was telling her about, if you do good things for others, then good things will happen to you, things like that.
I like
so that was
that.
really sweet.
Oh, that would explain my moral opinion. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have this in them. Like, do good things will always happen to you. That's why in most of my play, I always do the right decision, and I know things will happen to me. And I think I'm like, when I look, I'm like, maybe I should have done something bad just this once.
Because sometimes you think you're doing the good decision, but in fact, they twist it
Yes,
out.
exactly.
Yeah.
Did the rest of you
Um,
guys have a similar opinion of Sarita? Like, did you guys trust her right away, or were you a little cautious of her?
I feel bad because I probably would not be good survival instincts, but I trusted her. Like, because
Mhm.
I don't want to be the person who trusts everyone immediately because of the circumstances we're in. But I did peg her off as she's
cool.
She seems very nice. She's treating her and Sarah were having such a sweet time. I was like, I can't see her doing anything really mean or bad.
Yeah, totally the same thing.
I liked her. I was a little bit nervous about what she said about Kenny. About how she said that Kenny's been acting a little bit strange. And so I'm kind of curious what that is all about.
Oh, I totally got that.
Really?
What?
Just a few things. At first, when you're at the couch talking to him, he when you're at the couch, he tells this really weird joke that I don't get.
What was it again?
I don't get the joke. I don't remember it right now, but it didn't make sense. It's like out of thin air. Oh, maybe we're all dead, he says.
Oh, yeah. This is just a dream.
Yeah.
This is all a dream. Yes.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense in this conversation whatsoever. What did that come
That
from?
was a little bit creepy, though.
Yeah, and there's more moments like that as you progress in the
He
game.
makes some probably inappropriate
At the
jesting.
joke, he makes that joke at the table. We'll get onto the table.
We'll get to
soon.
that, yeah.
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 But
Yes, Sarita is saying that something's off, or so he doesn't look or feel the same. And I totally agree with that, because it feels like he has some kind of
Traumatic.
post-traumatic stress disorder.
could
Mood
be just
swings.
as bad as humor now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mood swings. I agree with that.
I had a flashback when I saw that little Christmas duck. For some reason, I thought of Gone Home and the good old Christmas duck.
Me too.
Oh, no.
I thought of Gone Home as well.
It's like, hey, look at that.
Yeah, the Christmas.
Then I thought of duck, and I was like, oh crap.
Yeah,
that-
then I thought of Duck too.
Oh, God.
any-
You guys, you just bring up memories.
Does anyone else have any theories about what Sarita said with Kenny maybe not being
In my
right?
opinion on I was a little bit, I'm going to admit, I was a little bit cautious of her. I was like, okay, she doesn't seem to be trusting of everybody else. Maybe she don't trust me either. But then when everybody let their guns down, everybody was happy, I was like, okay, I want to be your friend. I was like, okay, I'll be your friend, but I'm a little bit cautious of you when I have a weapon. And when she asked about, does Kenny seem a little bit off to you? I didn't get the Kenny joke at first at all. I was like, okay, yeah, that's nice to know. I'm glad to see you, though, Kenny. And then I was like, when I look back in my head, like it was 2-second thought. I was like, okay, maybe Kenny is acting a little funny. I said, yeah, I think he is acting a bit strange, and she remembered it very well, apparently.
After talking with Sarita, you go upstairs and you see Alvin and Rebecca, and Rebecca asks Alvin for a glass of water, and then you're by herself with her.
And again, what you're about to talk about, what you're about to say, that caught me by surprise as well, totally. But continue.
Yeah, the whole conversation with her and Clementine again, I thought was a little sudden.
It was totally unprovoked.
Yeah, she was just she was confiding in Clementine, and
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could argue that they've been traveling for 3 days, so maybe over the course of the 3 days, she and Clementine had a little bit of understanding. So I can see that. But she seemed very convinced that the baby was definitely not Alvin's.
Alvin's? Yeah.
Do you think it was Carver's?
Totally.
I'm going to be one of the people to say it now, and I'll be the first to confirm it. I 100% believe that the baby is not Alvin's, that it is probably indeed Carver's.
Yeah, totally.
And it is, everyone is like, and she's freaking out, and that's why you were in that bathroom scene, and everyone, she's like, please let it be his, please let it be his. And I'm like thinking, okay, yeah, it's definitely Carver's.
Although, go ahead, Kathleen.
I was just gonna ask, did you guys all hear the baby get up next to Rebecca's
No.
Didn't hear
Oh,
No.
it was so cute.
Nope.
You guys,
Why
it
not?
was
Why
so
not?
cute. You
No,
missed
no,
out. It was adorable.
I did it. Why did
I
you
did
not
that
do
let
it?
me hear thing, but I didn't hear anything.
Why did you not do it, Dave, in Angel Arts?
Okay, first off, I don't really like children all that much, so
Aww.
no. And it just seems so personal. I don't want to. No.
It was harmless. What do you think it was gonna do? She was gonna take you out right then and there. It was like, now I got you.
No, nothing like that. It's just I don't want anything to do with it.
Like,
It's one of
he's
those
just
things.
gonna grab your head and he's in a belly.
It's not mine. I don't have any responsibility.
What about you, Angel Arts?
I did listen to the baby, but for me it was it was kind of awkward because I wasn't completely comfortable with Rebecca at the time because again, it just seemed she was being so nice to me and I was a little, I thought that I was still thinking that was a little odd. But
as I see it, it's like Clementine is new to the group, and she's Becca is really guilty of what happened with Carver, and she needs someone new to confide in.
Yeah.
She can't talk to the group because they know all about this, so she actually needs someone new to talk to.
Yeah,
and Clementine is that person.
That makes sense. Now that I think about it, I take it back. Now that I think about it, I think that in reality, the baby is actually Alvin's. And I think what's going to happen is Alvin's going to find... I mean, if he hasn't figured it out already, he's going to find out that Rebecca probably did a little something with, with Carver, only to find out, oh, wait, that is your child. That is Alvin's child, after all.
That would be so sad, and that would totally be like Telltale to do that,
yeah.
too.
They would...
I thought...
No, I'm still putting my eggs in the bag that it probably is going to be Carver's.
All right.
But I think the most meaningful sense that I had, the most meaningful part of the conversation I think I had with her was when she said, "Oh, Alvin's gonna kill me when he finds out." And I think I remember as Clementine telling her, trying to reassure, saying he wouldn't kill you.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, dinner time.
This was for me the toughest decision in the entire episode.
Yes.
But I don't know why. I feel bad. It wasn't tough for me because I had a very logical reasoning of why I was doing it.
Go ahead.
I'll let you guys go first.
Okay.
All right, so our poll results this, and I'm going to say it now. The poll result is, who did you sit with at dinner? It was 65, as of right now, it is 65.8% for Kenny, 34.2% for Luke.
Huh.
Which I thought that was not surprising to me, because everybody wanted to catch up with Kenny, I thought, like the majority would.
Right.
I saw two tables like, yep, here we go.
Yeah, there was like a lot of parallels made throughout that part of the episode to high school. Like the teacher talks about it too, about like how everyone has their cliques, and it seems so immature that that Luke he gives you this look when you don't sit next to him,
and it's all these adults.
But it's so true because like the thing is, people do carry on that whole like high school mentality into adulthood.
God.
And it's so mature, but it's so true. Like it is.
And I just want to make sure throughout this whole thing, Clementine, because I don't think Clementine is the youngest person in this entire population right now.
Well, except for the unborn baby.
Except for that,
but that doesn't. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Kathleen? Who did you sit with?
Oh, I sat with Kenny. Even though I felt kind of bad because I didn't want Luke to like. Yeah. Whatever.
What made you decide on Kenny?
Just because I wanted to catch up with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel more of a connection to Kenny, honestly. So I hope that we don't have to continue to make decisions between Luke and Kenny.
Yeah.
It'll be like the whole Lily versus Kenny thing from season 1.
Yeah, I feel like this will be a little bit harder though for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Dave? Who did you pick to sit at?
I sat with Kenny. He's an old friend. Epic beard.
Yeah,
but like, you have a common ground there to start talking.
It's the beard.
What about you,
Magnificent.
See, here's I sort of gave a pretty long
discussion on the
discussion on the podcast of why I picked Luke over Kenny. But I did pick Luke over Kenny, and somebody else brought this up when I was discussing with them that, yes, a lot of people do feel a big connection with Kenny, but that was through the eyes of Lee. Like Kenny, if you look back in season 1, yes, you can have a good connection with Kenny, but that's really with Lee and Kenny. Clementine and Kenny didn't really interact hardly at all in season 1. In fact, I never really saw them have a conversation. Not that I don't think that Kenny cares about Clementine, it's just if you're using, I think that I have a better connection with Kenny, I question whether or not that was through the eyes of Lee as opposed to through the eyes of Clementine, because even though Clementine has known Kenny for a longer period of time, I feel that Clementine overall has had more meaningful interactions with Luke than she ever did with Kenny, and so that's why I ended up going with
enough.
Luke over Kenny.
Well, that's so true, man.
Me? No, with me. Mine had a lot of thought process behind it, but I didn't take as long. It was just a very quick decision. It was because I remember, I think it was Carlos. He said he wanted me to learn as much as I could about Matthew as I possibly could. So I literally did like a soft, sorry guys, this is just this once. I want to know more about Matthew. These guys, Kenny trusts me, and I trust Kenny. Not to say that I would manipulate our relationship, our friendship, but I definitely had a whole I had a more pragmatic. I think that's the word, pragmatic look at it. I was like, if I sit with them, there's a chance I could learn about Matthew, and I cannot pass that up. If it could be the difference between life and death, or us getting out of here safely or not. Unfortunately, so then I quickly said, I'm sorry guys, I gotta sit with Kenny.
Yeah.
So that's then I felt bad too, because Luke was like, I can't let you in on the secret plan because then it wouldn't be a secret.
Yeah. And Carson, you sat with Kenny, I believe.
Yeah, I did sit with Kenny because my old Let's Plays, I think was around episode 5 when they're in the attic. You're with Omid, Krista, Kenny.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Clementine was there with Ben. And you were asking like, who do you want? Like I said earlier, who do you want to take care of Clementine when Lee is gone? I said, oh, Kenny for sure. It was an old friend. They've known each other longer, and it was just like you really want to catch up with him, and you want to learn stuff about him again. Like, where has he been this whole time? And show that you're still holding him in his heart because you had that drawing of Kenny.
Yeah, that was the other thing. The minute I realized that he came back, it's like, crap! I burned your drawing. I knew that was gonna bite me in the butt from what you guys told me in the last part.
Bad on you, Lucky Jack.
I thought the log wouldn't be enough.
I definitely agree that it makes, even despite my reasoning, it makes perfect sense. I can also argue, hanging out with Kenny because of the fact that, even though I might not have been close with Kenny than I was with Luke, I would still want to catch up with him. But I ended up, I guess, subconsciously taking the path less traveled.
Luke is kind of the cool older brother, and Kenny is like the cool uncle.
Yeah.
The cool uncle with the big beard.
So, because I know that people make jokes about the creepy uncle, but I know I have a cool uncle and a cool friend that's my big brother. So it's kind of like having to decide between those two things. It's like, oh no.
So then
it's like go da 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 da. Oh, which one do I choose?
So then you have dinner, and Angel Arts, I want to know, at some point, even if you choose Luke, at some point you guys end up at the same table with Luke.
Correct.
And what's his Nick and Kenny.
Yeah, depending on who you end up sitting with, you talk to them, and I think both people ask you, do you trust the other group, whoever you're sitting with? You trust the other group, and then eventually, either Kenny joins you or Nick and Luke join you. So.
And then that whole gets a bit awkward a second.
Yeah.
Not even till the Freudian slip, which that was a tough moment.
Well, before we get to the Freudian slip, I was wondering if any of you caught this, because we mentioned it before about some of Kenny's jokes that might be a little inappropriate, because he was saying something about he was telling Luke and Nick, oh, Nuke, you guys are like two peas in a pod. You must be really close. And
I heard that.
I heard that. I was like, wait, what?
And they of course were like, what do you mean by that? And
what did you think, Angel?
I think that sort of implies how Kenny was when he first met Matthew and Walter. I'm wondering if when he first met Walter and Matthew, he kind of made the same joke, then realized, oh wait, you guys actually are. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were, right? They were?
That's what the implication is.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was on the
I didn't even realize that.
I want to make sure I was on this. I want to make sure I was on the right track.
Oh, Kathleen.
I hate to be mad. I hate to be wrong.
I actually think it says on the wiki that they were actually lovers. So.
Yeah.
Huh.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Well,
I guess I should have picked up on those cues, but.
Well, because Walter kept saying, he kept referring Walter kept referring to Matthew as his partner. And
it says, according to this, and I'm going to confirm it, that Matthew and Walter had have a romantic
Yeah.
relationship.
And
Wow.
there were
Sure,
definitely
was-
hints about it, and I mean, I was picking up on it, and maybe it was a little bit easier since I'm a gay male, but
Mhm.
just the fact that their initials, again, going back to the dagger, was MW, like it's
Oh.
Matthew and Walter. Like
I thought that was like the first name, last name.
no,
That's what I
no,
thought.
it's
That's
both
exactly
of their.
what Luke.
It's Math and Walter's first names.
Just call me. Everyone call me Logan.
So-
That's so much easier.
Like if you guys are,
Okay.
I mean, if you're best friends, yeah, I can see you guys getting like something that has both of your initials on it. But I think it was pretty much implying that was more of a romantic, intimate, like symbol.
Some people carve them on a tree. Some people get it carved on a knife.
Right, and yes,
But no, I.
and the fact that during Walter's, I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but this is tying into what we're talking about. The fact that Walter, during his last moments, was looking at the way he was looking at that photo of him and Matthew just before, his
That was the last
untimely
thing you
death.
saw, I think.
Like
Yeah.
again, I was like, oh no, those two are definitely a couple. And so
And it was yeah.
going back to Kenny's joke, I'm wondering if Kenny made the exact same, might have given Walter and Matthew a little bit of a hard time because the guy's from Florida. So, he might be a little
Comes out my mouth.
appropriate.
Yes, Catholic.
No, okay. Okay, well the thing is, he does make a joke, like a racist joke too with
Yeah,
Lee.
exactly.
I think that's
Yeah.
too. I mean, the stereotype is that people from Florida are like little like behind, but it is the South, so.
Yes.
So do you think that in and of itself is Telltale making a stereotype about a stereotype being
Possibly.
that there's a stereotype that
Yeah.
people stereotypical in Florida for
But
stereotypes.
it's so true though.
That's why when stereotype then it becomes law when the stereotype is always true.
Yeah.
Let's
but-
see here.
So then so he makes that joke. I think he,
He
makes a joke
the
about
joke
the food.
wondering. Yeah, I guess maybe part of him was wondering if they were actually a couple because Matthew and Walter ended up being a couple.
apparently.
So-
But then I think he makes a joke about the food as well. And even then I was like, that was kind of a lowbrow
Yeah.
joke.
Honestly, the whole like poop joke didn't bother me because me and my sisters always make poop jokes at the dinner table. Like
God.
that's what we
Oh,
do.
Jeez.
And so
I'm leaving
I
now.
people don't do that. People don't make poop jokes at the dinner table.
Typically not at the table, elsewhere, but when you're not eating the thing that will soon become the thing, then typically, I don't know. But no.
I mean,
Yes,
you
the-
can't
the-
accept it. The circle of life.
All of you
Yeah.
people out there who watch, who are subscribed to Kathleen, have learned so much more than you ever wanted to know about Kathleen in this podcast.
That writing came from poop jokes a long time ago. No, but yeah, they gotta
Nice.
start somewhere. But no,
David, I'm sorry, David was trying to say something.
Yeah,
sorry, David.
those irrational jokes, those jokes, and the irrational anger he gets, like he gets really angry at times.
Yeah.
yeah, that
That's
was
when you really start to show.
Yeah.
When it really starts to show that something's not right.
Yeah.
And I even said so to him. Said like, "Kitty, stop! What are
Yeah.
you doing?"
I felt like maybe the inappropriate jokes, or maybe he's fallen into this thing where he's trying too hard to stay positive and too hard to keep spirits high,
Yeah.
where it's
If-
becoming unhealthy almost.
If at this moment in time, let's even say like before dinner is over, at this
Yeah.
moment in time, if you were given the choice for Clementine to go with Luke or for Clementine to go with Kenny, which one would you choose? Just out of curiosity.
Luke.
Luke. Why?
Luke. Again, going back to what you guys said, she didn't have a strong relationship with Kenny as well, and I don't want to grow too attached to people from the past just because they're from the past. Because
Right.
I haven't Kenny and Clementine have not been through recently the stuff that she and Luke have been through, and I definitely could see Luke. I could see Kenny wanting to do something to help, like not so much to say sacrifice his life, but I could see Kenny wanting to risk his life to help Clementine since he has that same
Yeah.
connection with her. But I could just see Luke. I also kind of, if you think of it as like investment in time, I could see Luke was younger than Kenny. I could see Luke lasting, even age-wise,
Mhm.
longer than Kenny.
hmm
So I saw it as more of an investment in time. I want to pick the one that would be more stable,
Right.
especially if what Sarita was saying was true.
Oh, doubt about it. I still would choose Kenny. No,
You still would choose
debate.
Kenny? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it because of the
Dave?
history? Is that why?
Oh, no.
Well, if I have to make a statement about it, I would say it's because it's not only the history, but because like I the TV show. You stick with your former group and you stick with your co-buddies or your the group you're once with. You get to know them once again and see how they are. And I think that's what Clementine would do in the situation, or how I chose to do, to hang out with someone she used to remember or know,
Right.
and see and have that good time with them.
Bear in mind too that when I ask that question, it's not just Luke and Kenny; it's Kenny and his group, and Luke
As opposed to
and his
Oh,
group.
yeah.
So it's not
Yeah,
just
and his
those
group.
individual people. How about
Yeah.
David and Kathleen?
Well, I would stay with Kenny.
You'd say with Kenny because
Yeah, because well, first of all, I'm not sure about Luke's group. They have they have too much baggage. That's too dangerous.
Mhm.
You know, those lights, Carver, all those people hunting them, and I just think that she would be safer with Kenny.
Okay.
That said, you know, I was going on nostalgia pretty much the whole playthrough there. So after I heard your reasoning about, you know,
But
Lee-
it's
yeah, I actually changed my mind
Okay.
when I heard you talk about seeing Katie from Lee's
Sorry.
point of view. So,
I'm
But no,
sorry.
but I mean, the spur of the moment is totally fine. It's understandable for nostalgia.
Yeah,
kicking.
because-
I was like happy to see Kenny, even
Yeah.
though I could not accept that he was actually back until a couple minutes in. But I still liked he was back. Kathleen, what about you?
That's such a hard decision.
It's a
I guess
super
I'd
hard
pick
decision.
Kenny because
Mhm.
his beard makes him immortal.
He got he
Well,
cheated
I
death once.
think-
He cheated
No, I
death
mean, I
once. he can do it
literally
again.
think Kenny is going
David,
to
you need to
survive
grow out your
longer.
beard.
I think he's going to survive longer than Luke.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I just get this feeling, and also the nostalgia. Like, I
Yeah.
want to find out more about Kenny. I want to know what these last couple months have been like for
Yeah.
him, and I want to figure him out. And I don't know. I just feel like I've been through so much with Kenny.
Yeah.
So, and even though that's really through Lee's perspective, still, like me as a player, I feel
Mhm.
really connected. And this is kind of I know this is a weird way to look at it, but in a way, as I'm playing this game, sometimes I feel as though I'm playing as the ghost of Lee. Like, I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like in a way I'm like the presence of Lee kind of guiding and parenting Clem as she like goes through this experience, and I don't know, like I'm not like I know that's a little bit bizarre, but yeah, I kind of feel that way
I
as
feel
I'm
that
playing.
too.
Now, Hark.
Yes.
No pressure about who's on the wall behind you, staring at you with the back of your head. But no, completely honestly, who would you go with?
So I actually disagree with Kathleen in that I believe that Luke would actually survive longer than Kenny right now, only because I think Kenny is a little unstable at the moment. And because of that, I don't think Kenny's completely thinking straight, and therefore I think that might end up being his downfall down the road. Whereas I think Luke still has his wits about him. So that's really the only thing. That being said, I agree with David in that Luke's group has a lot more baggage than Kenny's does. And I mean, if I had to choose groups, I would definitely choose Kenny immediately over Luke's group. So that kind of puts me at that makes me torn.
Aha.
But ultimately,
Take that moment in.
yeah. But ultimately, I think that I will go with Luke, and the only reason is because I think that the group ends up. This is sort of like a really dark way to look at
Right.
it, but
You think all of Kenny's group is?
eventually, I think because Luke's group has a lot of baggage, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be lasting very long. And they'll probably end up with only Luke anyway. And I want to say the same thing with Kenny, because of Walter's perspective is very optimistic. Matthew's perspective also very optimistic, and you saw what happened to him. And then you have
Carlos
Sarita,
is-
who's a very sweet woman. I don't know about her survival or survivability yet as much. But, I guess what I'm trying to say is the decision comes down with taking the groups out of the equation, because I don't see them surviving.
And it's not because Luke Picture is staring at
Right.
you.
So I end up with Luke because because at that point it is between Kenny and Luke, and at that point I think that Luke would survive survive better than Kenny. So,
And
Is
as
it
far
because I have a question for you, Hawk?
all right.
Is it because Luke is more like a sympathetic person? Because Kenny is a very pragmatic person, and you always
Yes.
said that you want to be yourself, even if it kills you
I
in
think-
a zombie apocalypse.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that is because Luke's, I guess, outlook in life in the apocalypse matches mine better than Kenny's, and that's
Yeah.
probably why my Lee butted heads with Kenny a lot. And
Yeah.
because of that, that might be one of the reasons why I ended up not liking Kenny as much, is because we butted heads so much. And I understood where he came from behind his decisions, but that doesn't necessarily mean I respected all of his decisions. So, I mean, I think I can understand why he makes a decision without respecting it. But
yeah, totally.
maybe leaving the girl behind in episode 3.
which
Yeah, like one of
Was that
those choices.
Yeah.
Was that one of those choices?
I think that was one of the
But,
choices you could have made. Yeah.
But and yeah, and I guess, and about the whole baggage thing, I felt like I wanted to help them I wanted to help see them through all their problem with Carver. I wanted to help them out of their issue as best as I could, and not just abandon them to that. Was my whole thing, because I felt like I owed them for being the first group to accept me, and or not. To be fair, not openly accept me. They locked me
they
into a
didn't.
shed, and I had to. Which I remember that. I don't know where in the episode, but she made a comment like, "Yeah, I had to do it in a shed once. That was fun." I remember she made that comment, but I felt like I wanted to help see them through with that plot and help them out with that baggage. But I totally understand why you would want to leave them in for more security, more stability,
Right.
as opposed to Carver, and which. Can I just quickly bring up, since we're almost at the end of the dinner scene, the Freudian slip?
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry. Yes, let's end with that. So, Kenny accidentally calls Clementine Duck.
Duck.
What are your thoughts on that?
I was not surprised.
You were not surprised.
I actually didn't catch it the first time. Like I don't know if it was because it was like 2 a.m. at the time I got to that scene, but it was actually when Clementine said duck, and then or something like that. It was like it took me a double take to realize what he had said, and I was like, oh no, it's still there. The wound is still.
Yeah, what Logan's saying, I knew the wound is still. Right when he said that, I saw his face. I was like, yeah, you're still holding on to them. You're still like somebody would when they're close. And I was like, yeah, you're still wound is still there. It's not gonna go away. Probably is gonna be a little bit unstable in the future.
Do any of you think that Kenny sees Clementine as sort of a replacement Duck, just like Sarita is sort of like a replacement Katja, and that's how he's coping with his grief of his family?
I don't know if he would see her as an immediate replacement. It could possibly explain why, whereas Sarita was telling you that, oh, he's been acting differently lately, when you first see him, he seems just as calm as ever, because it could be maybe he wanted to quickly hide the fact that he was quote unquote acting differently, because he didn't want to frighten away Clementine or something like that. If as a replacement, I didn't get the explicit suggestion that he was going to immediately just have like almost sort of not psycho, but just sort of maybe more crazy, like how he wants the perfect ideal mother, the ideal wife and child thing, and Clementine would fit into that. I can't see that. I did not see that, but that's my take. Anyone else?
I just see it as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Like his mind is very fragile at this point. So it's one of those slips.
Kathleen and Carson?
Oh, I just agree with you guys on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more question before we move away from dinner is, a couple of people are suspecting that there's more to Luke than his nice guy persona might suggest. Some people are thinking that, one person brought up that, the finale of season 1 had a bit of a shock where, the main protagonist, Lee, ends up dying. I don't think anyone is expecting Telltale to do that exact same thing again this season. So somebody thought maybe the big, like, shocking end to the season is that Luke was actually a bad guy all along.
Just manipulating people.
Manipulating people the whole way through. And that...
Did you see...
Yeah.
Any of you guys think that might be the case?
We don't know, actually, as if Luke's group are the good guys. Like, we are
Yeah, that could be the other thing.
you know, but we don't know. And we know that Carver is a bad guy.
Well,
That's
the trailer
what we know, but
the trailer for episode 3 makes me think it's an impressive establishment.
Yeah.
yeah, but assumptions are dangerous.
Fair enough.
Well, I question though if Carver's not a bad guy, why does he? If they're the bad guys, I'm wondering why he wants to bring them back. So,
Yeah, that
yeah,
too.
that's a good
Well,
question, isn't it?
I think it's because when you have that conversation on the bridge with Luke, you say, what do you think is the most important thing? He says family, and I think he sees them as family, and he wants to keep his family together.
And it could be that he maybe wants to punish them for
My
being
light.
evil and show them the rules or do something. I don't know.
And Carver doesn't have to be the good guy. There could be two bad guys, you know.
Yeah, fair enough. It's the world. Kathleen, what about you? Luke, and because I will say that would be a very good, well placed plot twist if that turned out to be the big thing this season. I would applaud Telltale on camera if that's how it happened.
Yeah, Kathleen, what do you think of that theory about Luke possibly being a
I
bad guy?
feel like Carver is bad guy enough.
Okay.
Honestly, I really like what they did with Carver. He's really awful, and I think the writing for his character is amazing. So, I mean, if they added another bad guy to it, that'd be fine. But I think Carver is villain enough. You know.
David, I know.
Would you?
So.
David, I noticed when I brought up that theory, you immediately reacted to it. So, are you kind of thinking along the same lines too?
Yeah. You mean that Luke is evil?
Right, or at least there's something about Luke that is.
Yeah. Yeah. It just doesn't. Again, with assumptions that we think that this group is good.
Mm-hmm.
What I said earlier, but we can't know for sure.
That would be kind of interesting to find out if this group wasn't as good as right.
Yeah,
and
I had some sort of I did have that opinion a little bit like, oh, what if I'm on the wrong side of this conflict?
Yeah.
It would definitely break my heart if Luke ended up being a bad guy, but we'll see.
And you're gonna have to take that photo down.
I'd still keep the photo around.
He would be a villain you love to hate.
Yes. So Walter kind of gives his philosophy to Clementine. What are you guys' thoughts on that scene?
Yeah.
I think it's a sweet sentiment, but I think it's a bit naive as well. I would want it to work, but I think we've been proven that it doesn't at this point. So.
And I feel. No, you continue, Dave. Sorry.
No, I'm finished there. So.
I feel bad, and I start off all my sentences with I felt bad. At the end of episode 2 in season 1, I made that whole big, stand to arms. Just because the world's ending does not mean I'm going to be part of the problem.
Exactly.
So it did resonate a lot with my philosophy, but just because I'm not going to be part of the problem, I can't always tell if I'm making the right choice or not. Because he says, oh yeah, you just make the right choice. It's not that simple. To make the right choice, you first have to know what the right choice is. And time and time again in this season 1, I've learned I can't be sure what the right choice is.
Yeah. What David said, I think it was a very noble philosophy. It's a good philosophy. I mean, we would like to think that, but it's a little naive in the zombie apocalypse world. There's not much people can believe in. Like they shouldn't believe in that naively. I'm trying to do the right thing always.
Yeah. Oh, what about you, George? What do you think of his philosophy?
I mean, everybody knows how I feel, because I always say that I'm not going to survive very long in a zombie apocalypse. However, I'm role-playing Clementine. I'm not role-playing myself.
Correct.
And I think with considering everything that Clementine has experienced, I feel like she also thinks that the idea is very sweet because I think she believed it too when she was a lot younger. But after all she's been through, I think she knows that it's not always that easy. And if you want to survive, you kind of have to. You can't be too naive about those kind of things. You can't be too trusting.
Yeah.
Would you say she's almost pessimistic now, or just more skeptical?
I don't think she's optimistic or pessimistic. I think she's realistic.
Okay.
I think she's a realist, not a pessimist or an optimist.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, and then the biggest surprise happens
So you
after
walk
that
around.
philosophy talk.
So you walk around the house, and this caught me off guard. I recognized her, and I was like,
Yeah.
The moment I saw her hair, and I know this is gonna sound a little weird. The moment I saw her hair, I was like, oh, that has to be her. But what's her guy's name? I forgot.
I forgot her name too for a second. But it was
She
the
said her
freckles.
name Bonnie. I was like, I knew it.
It was the freckles. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, the 400 days.
Yeah.
The stories are starting to merge. This is perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about you? What were you, Dave?
I thought it was kind of weird.
How weird.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I liked seeing her, but I was on my toes. Something wasn't right.
Yeah.
Why was this girl here just
Alone, because to be
alone
fair,
asking for
'cause
food? I'm like, all the warning bells are ringing.
fair enough, because she had a whole group in the end of the
Yeah,
last.
it was fun seeing Bonnie again, but I think I pegged her as one of those congressmen right there.
Yeah, she said a bunch of things that definitely threw up some red flags, and it threw up red flags for me, the player, but not necessarily for Clementine, because I've played as Bonnie, and I didn't remember her having a daughter. I don't remember her having a family that was living. So she was just saying a lot of things that I didn't really coincide, and
I thought they were all euphemisms for things when I was playing. Like maybe.
oh, you think so?
I thought the whole when she meant family was like, oh, she means like a family friend or whatever, and
Yeah.
daughter. I had no idea what she was doing. And
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I agreed with the way the writers handled that, because anyone who played 400 Days, the DLC, probably would have caught those as red flags.
Mhm.
So I think it might have been better if she didn't say any of those things that contradicted what we know from Kenny, from Bonnie. I think that would have been better, because then it would have made the reveal of her with Carver a little bit more shocking.
Because it was
But-
already. No, it was already shocking enough for me because I thought she was like the nicest person out of 400 Days.
Yes.
I thought that Bonnie was definitely the most trusting out of the group. And yes, probably a little naive. But now thinking about it, that also kind of makes her the easiest to manipulate.
Yeah.
That would also be
So-
true.
Apparently, she did a very good job at it.
And definitely was the best choice to pick someone that a lot of people would not think would be naturally think would side with someone like Carver. So
Yeah, I mean, that all being said, if you watch Bonnie's expressions on her face carefully during certain scenes, it's not only at the ending but also during this time when she's interacting with Walter.
yeah, I remember that.
She feels there's a little bit of guilt in her face, especially when Walter starts offering to give her all this food.
Yeah, she was
And
like, oh,
she's like, well, what about your people? It's like, oh, don't worry about it here. And she seems like because the reason why she was there, I think, was for reconnaissance.
Yeah,
I don't think
scouting.
she meant
just
she wasn't meant to run into them. And here is this guy who's not only giving her
a
food,
crate of food.
but saying, just do something nice for someone.
I know.
Exactly. And I think that probably dug really deep in her.
Definitely.
And if you watch her again later on when she comes back.
Yeah, which is the gun, and she definitely.
Yeah, I mean, she says some things she says shut up to somebody, but I think part of her is just saying that so that
She's trying to convince herself more of what she's doing is right than anyone else. Well, to be fair, Clementine did say check her for weapons.
I did say that too. I was like,
Yeah, me too.
Me as the player, I immediately did trust her, and this is before all the red flags were coming up. But as Clementine, I was just trying to role play as Clementine, and she would be cautious and want to check her weapons and not trust her immediately, especially since she's looking in somebody's windows.
Yeah, that is also
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's where we could say that Clementine is being the realist here. Like, wants to be a cautious woman because, someone's looking through the window, kind of look like they're scouting. I think you would want to say for weapons and see if she's, with any, check weapons, see if she has anything on her.
Yeah.
She might be doing harm. And that just was what I thought was the best thing to do. Obviously, they said, no, we don't need to check her.
But and then I think after that scene, she leaves. I think a little, maybe a brief time cut, but I think then is when they address the Walter Matthew issue?
And they find the picture, didn't they?
Luke finds
That's
the
when.
photo.
Yes, that is when.
No.
That is when Luke tells Clementine about Matthew's identity, and for me, it was a surprise.
Same here. I was totally thinking Matthew was Carver, and I was like, oh no.
What I really liked about how Telltale handled the dialogue is that back when you were alone with Walter, when Walter's telling you about his philosophy,
Oh yeah.
there is a dialogue choice where you can respond. It looks like something's bothering Clementine, and like one of the responses is about Walter, and another response was about the lights that she saw in the distance earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wasn't thinking anything about Walter, it didn't like I chose the
Lights.
the lights thing.
Yeah, I think
Because
that too.
because like I wasn't thinking about it, and then anyone who did suspect something about Walter chose Walter in their Let's Play. So I kind of like that Telltale designed the dialogue in such a way that it didn't give anything away.
Yeah.
So that if you figured it out, then you had a way to talk about it. If you didn't figure out, it would just go over your head.
Because I know there were some
Yeah.
things like I don't know if he says it because of that choice, but I remember he said something about like, oh, Matthew hasn't shown up for a while. Hope everything's all right.
Yeah, it didn't make me think about.
No, not at all. I
Didn't
thought,
put two and two together at all.
Yeah, for about an hour. Like, oh, Matthew.
Yeah, several people got it. You know?
I figured it out. Like when
Yeah.
they said, we haven't seen Matthew lately. Oh shoot! It probably was that guy who shot. And I'm like, yeah, Matthew hasn't been around. Yeah, he's a great guy. You'll love him when you meet him. He's very friendly, and Opie was like,
oh,
oh shit.
I was totally strung up until the very moment when I saw the photo. I thought Walter was someone else entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
and-
I was thinking if Walter was with them, why would he be living in the lower
Right.
class cabin? It could have been. Now again, it could be maybe it was like a scout post or like a watch thing so that maybe because remember he had that radio,
Right.
which may have been a way to communicate. I don't know, but I don't think it was a two-way radio though. But either way, so yeah, definitely. So we see the photo. I think the first big choice is first, are you going to keep quiet about it?
Yeah.
Which I feel bad because the whole order of events is I first said I'm not going to tell him about it.
Oh.
What about you? What about you?
Oops.
What about you, Dave? What did you say?
This was actually one of the more tense scenes for me because I actually thought that if I told Nick, he was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
If I told him about the photo. So, but I was honest all the way, 100%. But it was so difficult to make those choices.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
in agony. I had to do it.
What about you?
Did.
What about you?
My turn, I guess. Yeah, I decided to show Nick the picture. I was like, no, I'm gonna tell Nick because he has to know, or because he can think. And my philosophy, or what I was thinking was, maybe if we told Nick what happened, who he killed, that way Nick will confront Walter and tell him later. And well, obviously that wasn't the case.
No. Well,
Not later.
well, actually, we're talking about that scene. I thought. Well, I
Oh,
told.
we're talking about that scene.
Well, no, not that scene. I'm saying, for my first choice, I told Luke I would not tell anyone, and then I decided to tell Nick what was going on, just that he would know. But then, but now again with David, I totally then was thinking, oh crap, what if Nick, like on the bridge, tries to take matters into his own hands and just starts
That's
making
true.
things far worse. Like he might crack and
True.
just go into press like, no, we have to handle it night. But no, what about you, Angels? What did you pick?
I kept insisting that we told Walter the truth because my reasoning was Nick made a choice. He made the decision that he did. He needs to take responsibility for those choices. He needs to, like, whatever the ramifications are for that choice he made, he needs to face it.
Were you afraid that he might die?
Yeah, I think he might have, but that's just the consequences of his choice.
Fair enough.
So that was the thing. I mean, I was hoping that Walter would forgive him, but I felt a little bad doing that because I knew I promised Pete that I would look out for him, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I was going to promise I would keep him alive.
No, it's not like you're gonna. It's not like you're gonna fight his battles for him, or
Yeah, I'm not gonna fight his battles for him.
He has to
Yeah.
grow up.
Yeah, so I figured, I thought that it would be a lot worse. He's going to find out something eventually.
When
Yeah.
Matthew
And-
never shows up.
And when Matthew never shows up, and now granted, he might not necessarily automatically think that we had anything to do with it, but, you know, part of me felt like, you know, that Walter was genuine about what he was saying to Clementine, and maybe he might be reasonable enough to not outright kill Nick.
Yeah.
So